Thanks, Anders. So at Topp, over the last year, we've been spending a lot of time working in the connected home space and wearables, working with security companies. And I'm going to share a few things with you today about what we're observing as a design group and from a designer and creative perspective about what's coming for IoT. And most of all, I want to just hammer in one message right at the beginning that, well, the things don't matter. And I think you've been hearing hints of this quite a bit over this conference and apparently over the last 5 conferences about IoT. So what is IoT? Well, it's going up. I'm going to take you on a ride here. We're first going to show you a bunch of slides from a bunch of smart people that aren't me. And then I'm going to take you all the way in this presentation to a sketch of a somewhat offensive sketch that I've made at the end. So get ready for this. So IoT is going up. A bunch of smart people say so. All the analysts out there, up, 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 first $1 trillion industry for tech. Keep going up. That's great. You know, we get a lot of work that way. But there's one trend forecast called the Gartner hype cycle. And it's not a science, but it's proven itself pretty good in terms of looking at emerging technologies and the kind of journey they go through before they hit mainstream. And if we look at this chart, we're going to see there's an innovation trigger. It takes you to the peak of inflated expectations, trough of disillusionment, slope of enlightenment, and finally the plateau of productivity where we all want to end up as good designers and product makers. This time last year, IoT, right at the top of inflated expectations. What kind of roller coaster ride do we have to look forward to? Well, pretty soon we're going to hit this trough of disillusionment. And I want to share with you how you in the audience can take part in going from this trough to the plateau of productivity as creative people, as how can you help accelerate this process, if not avoid it. And I want to call it the plateau of meaningful experience instead. It's a little bit more palatable, I think, for the people here. And more specifically, the plateau of meaningful experience for people. I think that's what's important, at least from a design perspective. We're focused in on people and users and our experiences that I think Katie started to allude to as well. Let's talk about today. How did we get up at the top of this peak? There are 2 things that we see anyway. One is a class of IoT objects that you see that we like to call hubjects. And hubjects are everywhere. And people are trying to sell these. And they have no idea why they're trying to sell them. All they do are connect things. You know, without any real purpose, you just have to have one of these in your home. And they're going to connect something to something. And that's the promise of IoT. The other class of things we see are things that are chipped. And if we look at these, they're all around us. This is what's emerging. This is what Kickstarter is full of today. And in fact, most existing product companies trying to get into the IoT hype are producing these kind of chipped objects. Some of them are decent, some of them help you, but essentially they're just an pre-existing product that you might already have, and they're adding an application to it. This is a great website. And I'm going to read this. It's from weputachipinit.tumblr.com. This is so awkwardly academic. It's brilliant. Now you can put a chip on it, on everything. Chip the cat, chip the toilet seat, chip your forehead, chip another chip for fuck's sake, chip it all. This is the peak of inflated expectations. And what we see is it's not the Internet of Things, it's the Internet of shitty things. Unfortunately, that's where we're at. So why are we here? Well, we like things. We're trained to like these things, and that's natural. There have been great things that have come out over the last 20, 30, 40 years. It makes sense to want them, and it's easy to sell them. You design them, you find clear values in them, and you market them. But there's a shift somewhere, 2007, a little bit before, where these things, even though they're sold as things, gotta have it, took on a different characteristic. They had network effects. They had knock-on effects. They affected your behavior in different ways, not in a single way, but in a platform way. But they're still sold as things. You want the Nest thermostat. You want the Tesla. You want the iPhone. But there's another kind of technology that's emerging. And this is something very natural that's happened in other technologies in the past. This is a transit card in Korea with T-money. Korea has some of the most sophisticated transit and payment cards there are. This RFID, NFC technology. This is a kiosk, I believe, in a London mall, Westfield Mall. This is a Google search. All of these share some common characteristics in that, well, they're really impactful, and they're taking advantage of data, but they're neither disruptive nor incremental. It sneaks up on you, and it can affect your behavior. For us, we call it creeper tech. It's there. So, unfortunately, for us in the design industry, we're likely going to not be as rockstar-ish as we used to be. Because these things are not objects. The important designs are not the ones that you're going to go to the shop and just buy. They're going to be everywhere. The medium of IoT is data. It sounds good, you might have heard it before. But try to wrap your head around that. What does that mean? The medium is data. It's not the thing. Well, it's pretty hard. It's a little abstract, actually. There are some successful IoT things coming out that really take advantage of data and are more meaningful than a toothbrush. A farm. Lots of farms around the world. Increased productivity, yields, sustainability. Farming, IoT, M2M. Sensors are going everywhere, and there's meaningful data coming to these farmers, helping with transport, with water, ecology, and so on. Shipping. Yeah, making it more efficient, tracking your packages. DHL, UPS, FedEx, all great. Amazon warehouse. But all of these are kind of in the logistics sphere of things. How do they affect you and I? Well, they do, but we don't see it. And these are not necessarily the industries that are going to bring you all the way up to the plateau of meaningful experiences for people. They're going to be there, and they're going to make some big companies a lot of money, or at least save them a lot of money. IoT is currently the domain of engineers and data scientists. Super smart people working with data, really nice degrees. But that's the way it's always been. In fact, we should still expect to ride this down for a while. Doesn't matter how smart these people are. So how do we get over here? Creatives, designers, can drive innovation. Think about how you design, how you're creative, and think about the difference between typical engineering processes. Let's look a little bit in the past. How have these other industries emerged when technology came about? We've got audio, film, software, physical computing. These are complex mediums. But, in fact, they were all accelerated with tools. These things enable new qualities, became more accessible, and made things fast as well. And the result is quite obvious. Now I'm showing some fairly nice things. The quality, it's not that people get smarter, and it's not necessarily that the quality is always better, but the amount produced in these mediums, in these fields, is much greater. And that, of course, increases the likelihood of radical innovations and big successes. It also increases really shitty design as well. But it overall increases the output of the field. So what is the medium? And what are the tools? Well, if we really want to get into it, we need to start thinking about what that medium means to us as creative people. And there's been a few attempts. It's a nascent industry of tooling. There's if this, then that. Very cool. It's a simple trigger. We're going to take some data in. We're going to listen for an event, and we're going to do something else. And IFT gets a lot of press, and rightfully so. But I think in a few years, we're going to look back and think of this as the MS Paint of IoT tools. This is really early stuff. There's been other tools out there. This is Yahoo Pipes, and unfortunately it's just shutting down, but it was well ahead of its time. It's been out for years. And it took, and I'm going to come back to why it was important, but it was an accessible way to look at data and flow and trigger on the web and create web services. And there's been some more recent advancements. This is Wolfram Alpha. This is a language here. What you're seeing is actually taking in data and dynamically creating an Apple Watch application. But all of these are kind of missing one critical part. I think they're good tools for addressing IoT, but they're missing something critical for the creative people in the room, for the designers in the room. None of it's sketchy. None of it's iterative. It's maybe a bit rapid, but those first two qualities are important. This is any design agency you go to today. This is what it looks like. Post-it notes, whiteboard. And if you look into the qualities of what you get, it's the ability to erase. And we've more frequently started using the term sketching with data. And again, first realize what your medium is, then realize try to sketch with data. What the hell does that mean? I want you to look at this. This is pure data, essentially being flowed into a UI. We've got weather and location. Just being placed, being sensed, and appearing on a screen. It's a mashup. What's the difference between those other tools? It's tangible. And data for creative people, for designers, needs to become tangible. We've taken some efforts at Topp to start making forays into this space. This is called Noodle. Noodle was not designed for data. It was designed for interactive experiences, which are also very intangible. Interaction design and UX and service design. And it looks similar to some other prototyping tools out there for designers, and it's going to look very unfamiliar to a lot of people here. But the basics are all of these blue things, or visual nodes, we call them. And essentially, data flows through these chords. And we use it a lot for creating great-looking user interfaces and interactive experiences. Recently, we extended this to connect to physical things as well. So not just on-screen interfaces. And so we virtualize physical objects into this space. And what you're seeing here is a lamp being added into this same interface builder, essentially. But let's think about data again. Right now, we've got pretty static data sets flowing through there. And this is the sketchy stuff. Here, we're going to add that lamp again. There it is. Now we're going to look at data sources. You should presume that every piece of data that you want will be available to you. You got to think, how are you going to use it? Makes sense. We're going to connect room brightness to the lamp. We're going to have some weird feedback loop in this lamp. It's going to flicker because it's going to get brighter and it's going to dim. But what does it mean to sketch? Sketch is to play, to try something out. And instead of room brightness, we're going to connect local gender balance in a building to the lamp. And we're going to look at the male-female balance in a local room and float that into the lamp color instead. This is not a good design. It's a sketch. And I'm going to leave you with a straight face of a slide that has dick butt on it. If you cannot create a stupid sketch, you do not have control over your medium. Look for the ability to make something quick and disposable on the route to creating something meaningful. So please, practice sketching with data, however you can. It's a challenge to you. It's probably not our tool, but it's going to be out there. Start working with it. Make it Post-it, make it a box. Just start making data tangible. We can create meaning. We can jump over or accelerate that trough. And remember, don't focus too much on the things. Thanks.